It happened over mashed potatoes and family gossip. My daughter-in-law grabbed my phone by mistake. She gasped loud enough to freeze the room. She has $22 million. The forks dropped. My son stared like I'd committed a crime. For 42 years, I served their meals and kept my mouth shut. A cafeteria lady. The woman who brings food and disappears. They said I'd keep $2 million. They'd split the rest. That night, I realized something heartbreaking. I was never family. Just the help. Until the money made me interesting. So I climbed through a bedroom window with a suitcase. I'm 72 now. They call me selfish. I call it freedom. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The phone screen lit up in my hand. $22 million stared back at me. The room went silent. 3 weeks earlier, I had been invisible. Just Martha Lane, 67 years old. Retired cafeteria manager at County General. The woman who served mashed potatoes and disappeared. But Sabrina found the statement. My daughter-in-law rifled through my purse while I changed sheets in the guest room. She called Kyle. My son drove over with his father's tight jaw. Now we sat in their ranch house. Casseroles sweated on the counter. The air smelled like butter and accusation. Kyle folded his arms across his chest. Sabrina leaned forward. Derek, my younger brother, sat by the window. His smile was thin and hungry. They wanted an explanation that fit their story. I must have married rich. I must have stolen. I must have lost my mind. I told them the truth instead. I saved every spare dollar for 42 years. I packed lunches in Tupperware older than Kyle. I wore scrubs until the seams gave out. I learned about markets in the staff lounge during breaks. Numbers made sense to me. Price-to-earnings ratios. Dividend yields. Compound interest. I bought a duplex in 1987. The neighborhood was rough. No one else wanted the block. I rented out half. I held it when people called me foolish. I also told them about Dr. Whitaker. He ran the hospital for 30 years. Chief of surgery. Brilliant hands, lonely heart. His children moved to Europe and forgot him. I brought him lunch every Tuesday. We talked about books and weather. Small kindnesses cost nothing. When he died, his will left me $50,000. A modest sum for years of dignity. I invested it carefully. Sabrina waved her hand like swatting a fly. The gesture erased decades. Kyle spoke next. His voice carried the weight of doubt. A cafeteria lady could not have that kind of money. It was not possible. It was not right. Derek leaned back in his chair. He called it family money. The phrase hung in the air like smoke. Something cracked inside my chest. I remembered the cash I lent Kyle 6 years ago. $4,000 when he lost his job. He promised to repay me in 6 months. The check never came. I remembered Derek's down payment. $8,000 for his truck. He called it a loan. I called it gone. I remembered Nora, Derek's wife. She begged me to cover her credit cards. $3,000 to save her credit score. She cried about her children. I wrote the check. I remembered birthday parties I cooked for. I scrubbed floors and frosted cakes. In the photos, I was cropped out or standing in the back. Sabrina cleared her throat. Her tone shifted. Sweet now, like syrup poured over rot. She had a proposal. A fair one, she said. I could keep $2 million for comfort. The rest could be distributed wisely. Among family. My hands began to shake. I had woken at 4 in the morning for decades. I peeled potatoes in industrial sinks. I taught myself accounting from library books. I was not a mistake. They were. The casserole dish was in my hand. I do not remember picking it up. Porcelain met tile. The sound was sharp and final. Green bean fragments scattered across the floor. The room flinched. For 42 years, I had been quiet. Useful. Convenient. Background noise in their lives. Suddenly I was unstable. Kyle stood up. His face flushed red. Sabrina reached for her phone. Derek muttered something about lawyers. I walked down the hallway. My shoes made no sound on the carpet. I entered the guest bedroom and turned the lock. My suitcase sat in the closet. I pulled it out. Clothes folded quickly. Toiletries fit in a side pocket. I called Jonah Price, an old coworker from County General. He retired 5 years ago and moved to the coast. We exchanged Christmas cards and occasional phone calls. He answered on the second ring. His voice was steady. He did not ask why I was whispering. He did not ask about money. He told me to breathe. He told me to get clear. He gave me his address. I cracked the window. Cool air rushed in. The screen lifted easily. For a moment, I stood there, listening to muffled voices in the living room. Sabrina's sharp tone. Kyle's low anger. Derek's casual cruelty. Then I climbed through. The suitcase went first. Then my purse. Then me. I landed on grass still damp from the sprinklers. My knees protested. My heart did not. I walked to the street. Called a taxi from the corner. Rode in silence to the bus station. By the time Kyle knocked on the locked bedroom door, I was gone. The bus left at midnight. I sat in the back. Watched the city lights blur into darkness. I thought about the window. How easy it was to open. How long I had stood on the wrong side of it. Freedom was not far away. It was just on the other side of the word no. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The bus rolled into the coastal town at dawn. Salt air replaced the smell of diesel. Jonah waited outside the station. White hair, kind eyes, hands that did not reach for anything. We drove in silence. His Honda smelled like coffee and old newspapers. The ocean appeared between buildings. Gray water stretched to nowhere. His condo sat above a bait shop. 2 bedrooms, clean counters, windows that framed the Pacific. He made eggs. I ate without tasting. My phone buzzed against the table. 17 missed calls. 23 messages. Kyle wrote that he was worried. Sabrina wrote that I was being emotional. Derek wrote that family takes care of family. The words looked like concern. They read like invoices. Jonah poured more coffee. He asked if I wanted to talk. I shook my head. He nodded and opened the newspaper. The first week passed in fog. Literal fog rolled in every morning. Covered the town in gray silence. It felt appropriate. My phone continued its vibration. Messages turned from worry to irritation. Kyle said I was acting like a child. Sabrina mentioned lawyers and competency evaluations. Derek talked about courts and obligations. Nora sent a long text. She apologized for past misunderstandings. She hoped we could move forward together. The message ended with a question about my health and well-being. The subtext was clear. They wanted access. They wanted control. They wanted their cut. Jonah suggested a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. Someone who understood elder law. Someone who had seen families turn predatory. He knew a man named Caleb Porter. A state attorney, 2 towns over. Reputation for protecting people who needed walls built fast. The appointment was set for Thursday. 3 days away. My hands shook when I confirmed the time. Wednesday night, Sabrina showed up. 2 police officers flanked her on the porch. Her face was arranged in concern. She told them I was missing. She told them I was confused. She told them my age and mentioned dementia without using the word directly. I opened the door before Jonah could. Stood in the frame with my spine straight. The older officer looked at me. Then at Sabrina. Then back at me. He asked if I was here voluntarily. I told him yes. I told him I left of my own free will. I told him I was staying with a friend. Sabrina interrupted. Her voice climbed. She said I was not thinking clearly. She said the family was worried. She said I had responsibilities. The younger officer shifted his weight. Uncomfortable now. This was not the call he expected. Jonah appeared beside me. He handed the officers a printed document. My bank statement with identifying numbers blacked out. Proof of capacity. Proof of assets. Proof that I was not a confused old woman. The officers read quickly. The older one handed it back. He asked if I felt safe. I said yes. He asked if I needed anything. I said no. They left. Sabrina remained on the porch. Her mask slipped. She called me selfish. She called me ungrateful. She said Kyle deserved better than this. I told her Kyle got exactly what he earned. Nothing more. Nothing less. Her car screeched, pulling out. The sound echoed down the empty street. Thursday came. Caleb Porter's office smelled like leather and old wood. He was 50, silver beard, glasses that sat crooked. He listened without interrupting, took notes in neat handwriting, asked questions that cut to bone. How much contact did I want with my family? None. Did I have a will? Yes, but outdated. Powers of attorney? Kyle was listed. A mistake I made years ago. Caleb leaned back in his chair. He explained elder financial abuse. How it hides behind Sunday dinners and blood relations. How courts see it constantly. He outlined a strategy. Fast and thorough. An irrevocable trust to protect assets. A new will with surgical precision. Powers of attorney reassigned to people who earned the title. He also recommended a capacity evaluation. A formal assessment by a geriatric psychiatrist. Documentation that I was sound, sharp, and acting with full agency. The evaluation happened 2 days later. Dr. Patel asked me questions. Math problems, memory tests, reasoning exercises. She asked about my emotions and my plans. I answered everything, showed her my investment spreadsheets, explained my 42 years of saving, described the moment Sabrina found the statement. Dr. Patel signed the report. Cognitively intact. No signs of diminished capacity. Acting in her own best interest. The words felt like armor. Caleb moved quickly. The trust was established within a week. My assets transferred. My will rewritten. Powers of attorney given to Jonah and Caleb. Kyle was removed from everything. So was Derek. So was Sabrina. The new documents arrived by courier. Thick envelopes, official seals, language that meant business. I signed each page. My hand did not shake. Caleb explained the next step. I needed to formally notify my family. In writing. Clear and direct. No ambiguity. The letter took 3 drafts. Jonah read each one. Made small suggestions. Kept my voice intact. The final version was simple. I informed them of the legal changes. I stated my boundaries clearly. I wished them well from a distance. I mailed it on a Tuesday. Certified, return receipt requested. Proof of delivery. The response came fast. Kyle called 16 times in 1 hour. Sabrina sent messages that scrolled for pages. Derek threatened legal action. Nora begged me to reconsider. I blocked their numbers, changed my email, installed new locks I did not need but wanted anyway. Jonah made dinner that night. Spaghetti, simple and warm. We ate on the balcony. Watched the sun drop into the Pacific. The ocean did not care about my family. The waves kept coming, steady, reliable, indifferent. For the first time in months, I slept through the night. No dreams, no interruptions, just the sound of water against rocks. Morning light came through thin curtains. The room was small and mine. No one could enter without permission. Jonah knocked softly, brought coffee in a chipped mug, asked if I wanted to walk the pier. We did. The boards creaked under our feet. Fishermen cast lines into gray water. Pelicans dove for breakfast. I stopped halfway down, leaned against the railing, let the wind tangle my hair. Jonah stood beside me, patient, present, not waiting for anything. I told him I felt lighter. Like something heavy had been removed. Something I carried so long I forgot it was not part of my spine. He nodded, said sometimes the bravest thing is putting down what others handed you. The pier stretched ahead. Salt spray misted the air. The ocean held no answers. It did not need to. I had climbed through a window, built walls, said no. Now I stood on the other side of fear. The hard part was over. The living part could begin. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The paperwork sat on Jonah's kitchen table. Neat stacks. Official seals. A fortress made of clauses. 3 weeks had passed since the lawyer's office. Spring crept into the coastal town. Mornings smelled like jasmine and low tide. My phone stayed silent now. Numbers blocked. Emails filtered. Peace arrived in the shape of absence. But the money sat there. $22 million doing nothing but existing. Earning interest. Growing quietly like it always had. Jonah made oatmeal every morning. Added cinnamon and raisins. We ate by the window. Watched fishing boats leave the harbor. One morning he asked what I wanted. Not what I should do. What I wanted. The question sat between us. Heavy and obvious. I had spent 42 years saving. Never spending. Never imagining. Now I had to decide what the money was for. That night I opened my laptop. The screen glowed in the dark room. I searched for nonprofits, local organizations, places that did quiet work. Harbor Lights Education Trust appeared third in the results. Small operation, big impact. They funded scholarships for first-generation college students. Built school kitchens in food deserts. Stocked libraries in towns nobody remembered. I had followed them for years. Sent small donations at Christmas. Never more than $200. Never enough to be noticed. Their director was Elena Moreno. Former teacher, current miracle worker. Her bio listed credentials but her photo showed tired eyes and capable hands. I drafted an email. Deleted it. Drafted another. Deleted that too. Finally I wrote 3 sentences. Expressed interest in making a significant donation. Asked for a phone consultation. Included my new number. The reply came within an hour. Elena suggested Thursday at 10. Her tone was professional but warm. No exclamation points. No false enthusiasm. Thursday arrived cool and bright. Jonah left for his morning walk. Gave me space without being asked. Elena called exactly at 10. Her voice was steady. She thanked me for reaching out. Asked what drew me to Harbor Lights. I told her about feeding people for 42 years. About watching kids come to school hungry. About knowing that empty stomachs made learning impossible. She listened without interrupting. Then she asked how much I was considering. I told her $20 million. The line went quiet. Not shocked quiet. Thinking quiet. Elena asked if I had legal representation. I told her about Caleb. She asked if the funds were unencumbered. I confirmed they were. Then she asked the question that mattered. What did I want to see happen? The answer came easily. Scholarships for kids who worked while studying. School kitchens that respected culture and budget. Libraries where curiosity did not require bus fare. Elena took notes. I heard paper rustling. She explained their structure. Nonprofit status, annual audits, board oversight. Everything transparent and accountable. She also mentioned publicity. A gift this size would draw attention. Local news, maybe regional. Was I prepared for that? The thought made my chest tighten. But I said yes. Transparency meant protection. Documentation meant safety. We scheduled an in-person meeting. 2 weeks out. Elena wanted to introduce me to the board. Show me their current projects. Let me see where the money would go. I hung up and stared at the ocean. Waves rolled in. Consistent and unbothered. Jonah returned with coffee and pastries. Asked how it went. I told him it felt right. Like the money finally had a purpose beyond survival. That afternoon I called Caleb. Explained my plan. He asked careful questions. Wanted to ensure the gift was truly irrevocable. That I kept enough for myself. We agreed on $2 million for living expenses. Modest by some standards. More than enough by mine. Caleb would draft the donation agreement. Make it legally binding. Protected from family claims. Audited annually. The meeting at Harbor Lights was set for May 15th. 3 weeks away. Time to be certain. But certainty came faster than expected. That weekend I visited their office. Small building near the community college. Peeling paint but clean windows. Inside, bulletin boards covered every wall. Photos of scholarship recipients. Students in caps and gowns. Letters written in careful handwriting. One letter caught my eye. A girl named Maria thanked them for believing in her. She was the first in her family to finish high school. Now she was studying nursing. The words blurred. I remembered serving students like her. Watching them skip lunch to save money. Knowing they went home to second shifts and younger siblings. Elena appeared from a back office. Shorter than I imagined. Work boots and a blazer. She shook my hand firmly. She gave me a tour. Showed me their kitchen program. Explained how proper meals changed attendance rates. How kids learned better when hunger was not a distraction. She showed me their library initiative. Little free libraries built by volunteers. Stocked with books chosen by teachers. Placed in neighborhoods where the nearest library was 12 miles away. Everything was practical, thoughtful, designed by people who understood scarcity. We sat in her cramped office. 2 folding chairs and a desk held together with duct tape. Elena pulled out a binder. She showed me their financials. Every dollar tracked. Every program evaluated. Overhead kept minimal. Donors' money spent on impact, not salaries. I asked about her salary. She told me $38,000 a year. Less than I made managing a cafeteria. The decision solidified. This was where the money belonged. With people who stretched dollars and measured success in changed lives. Elena did not pressure me. She simply laid out facts. Showed me impact reports. Let the work speak for itself. I told her I was ready to move forward. Her eyes widened slightly. Then she smiled. The kind of smile that costs energy to hold back. She asked if I wanted my name on anything. Buildings, programs, plaques. I said no. Just list me as an anonymous donor who believed in the work. Elena nodded. She understood. Some people needed recognition. Some people just needed to know the work would continue. We shook hands again. She walked me to the door. Said they would be in touch within a week. Legal documents, timelines, next steps. Outside, the sun was setting. The sky turned orange and purple. I sat in Jonah's car and did not start the engine. For 42 years I had saved. Denied myself. Lived small so the numbers could grow large. Now the numbers would become something real. Hot meals, college degrees, books on shelves, futures that did not depend on luck or loans. I started the car, drove back to the condo. Jonah had made soup. We ate on the balcony. He asked if I felt good about the decision. I told him I felt useful. For the first time since retirement, I felt useful. That night I drafted an email to Kyle, to Sabrina, to Derek, one message to all of them. I informed them of my decision. $20 million donated to Harbor Lights Education Trust. Irrevocable. Public. Already in motion. I told them I kept enough for myself. Enough to live comfortably. Enough to never be a burden. I also told them this was not a punishment. It was simply a choice. My money. My decision. My right. The email sent with a soft whoosh. No turning back. No second thoughts. My phone exploded within minutes. Kyle called 12 times. Sabrina sent messages in all capital letters. Derek threatened lawyers and courts and consequences. I turned the phone off. Placed it in a drawer. Closed the drawer firmly. Jonah stood in the doorway. Asked if I was okay. I told him I was better than okay. I was free. The ocean hummed outside, constant and indifferent. Waves broke against rocks. The rhythm never changed. I had given away the only thing they wanted. Now there was nothing left to fight over. Nothing left to negotiate. The silence that followed felt like clean air. Cool and breathable. The kind of silence that makes room for living. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The donation went public on a Tuesday in June. Local paper ran it front page. Anonymous donor gives $20 million to Harbor Lights Education Trust. My name was not mentioned. But small towns have long memories and loose lips. By Wednesday afternoon, 3 reporters had called Jonah's landline. By Thursday, Kyle knew. His voicemail was volcanic. He said I betrayed blood for strangers. He said I owed him an explanation. He said lawyers were involved. Sabrina's message was colder, more calculated. She mentioned Lily, my granddaughter. Said I was destroying family relationships. Said children remember who abandons them. The words landed like hooks. Designed to catch and hold. Derek went directly to the press. Gave an interview to the county paper. Called me selfish and mentally unstable. Said the family was exploring legal options. The article appeared Friday morning. Photo of Derek looking concerned. Quotes about elder abuse. The irony was almost funny. Caleb called within an hour. He had already drafted a response. Cease and desist letters for Kyle, Sabrina, and Derek. Defamation warnings for the newspaper. He also suggested I consider a statement. Something brief. My own words in my own voice. The idea terrified me, but silence felt like hiding. I was done hiding. I wrote 3 paragraphs. Explained my background. 42 years of work. Careful saving. Deliberate investing. A modest inheritance invested wisely. I stated that the donation reflected my values: education, opportunity, and community. I wished my family well from a respectful distance. The statement went to the paper. Ran Sunday morning. Letters to the editor followed. Most were supportive. Some were vicious. One woman wrote that family came first. That I was a cautionary tale. That money corrupted even good people. Another woman wrote that she understood. That she too had been the family bank. That my courage gave her permission. That letter I kept. Folded it carefully. Placed it in my nightstand. June turned to July. The controversy faded. Other news filled the space. My name disappeared from circulation. Harbor Lights moved quickly. The donation cleared all legal hurdles. Funds transferred to a managed endowment. Annual disbursements calculated and scheduled. Elena invited me to the first board meeting. Held in a church basement that smelled like coffee and old hymnals. 6 board members introduced themselves. A retired teacher. A local business owner. A minister. A banker. A social worker. A former scholarship recipient who now taught high school. They presented plans. New school kitchens in 3 districts. Scholarships for 15 students this year. Library expansions in rural areas. Equipment for vocational programs. Every dollar accounted for. Every impact measured. No waste. No fluff. Just practical help for people who needed it. They asked if I wanted to join the board. I said yes before thinking. The word surprised me. My first assignment was simple. Visit the schools where kitchens would be installed. Meet the cafeteria staff. Understand the challenges. The first school was 40 minutes inland. Concrete building, cracked parking lot, hopeful murals. Principal met me at the entrance. Walked me to the cafeteria. The kitchen was ancient. 1 working oven. 2 burners. A refrigerator held together with electrical tape. The staff served 300 students daily. Head cook was a woman named Diane. 63 years old. 37 years in this kitchen. She showed me the setup with apologetic hands. No storage for fresh produce. No equipment for scratch cooking. Everything came frozen or canned. High sodium, low nutrition, 0 dignity. Diane said the kids deserved better. She said she used to cook real food. Before budget cuts. Before consolidation. Before giving up became easier than fighting. I asked what she would do with the new kitchen. Her eyes brightened. She described menus. Fresh vegetables roasted with olive oil. Whole grain pasta. Chicken seasoned with herbs from a school garden. She talked about teaching kids to cook. About food as life skill and love language. About meals that nourished bodies and proved someone cared. I took notes. Asked about equipment needs. Wrote down every detail. Diane walked me out. Hugged me at the door. Whispered thank you. The drive back was quiet. Jonah drove while I watched the landscape blur. Fields turned to coast. Heat gave way to fog. That night I called Elena. Told her to double the kitchen budget. Make sure they had everything needed. Equipment, training, a year of operating funds. Elena hesitated. Asked if I was certain. The money was allocated carefully. Changing plans required board approval. I told her I had kept $2 million. I would fund the extra kitchen costs myself. Call it a supplemental gift. Make it happen. Elena agreed. Said she would draft the paperwork. Said Diane would cry when she heard. Good, I said. Let her cry. Let her cook. Let those kids eat real food. July became August. The kitchens began installation. School would start in September. Scholarships were awarded. Letters sent to 15 students who thought college was impossible. One girl wrote back. Her name was Ashley. First in her family to graduate high school. Working nights at a gas station. Saving for community college. The scholarship covered tuition, books, and living expenses. 2 years, renewable if grades held. She could quit the gas station. Study without exhaustion. Her letter was 3 pages. Handwritten on notebook paper. She thanked me over and over. Said she would make the investment worthwhile. I wrote back. Told her the only requirement was learning. That she owed me nothing but her own success. That I believed in her because someone once believed in me. The exchange felt sacred, like passing a torch neither of us expected to hold. August brought heat and clarity. My days found rhythm. Morning walks with Jonah. Afternoons at Harbor Lights office. Evenings on the balcony watching pelicans hunt. My phone stayed mostly quiet. Kyle had stopped calling. Sabrina sent one last message. Cold and final. Said I made my choice. Said Lily would not know me. The words stung. But I had learned that love without conditions looks different than love with invoices attached. Derek's business was failing. Word filtered through mutual acquaintances. He had overextended. Borrowed against projections that never materialized. Now creditors circled. Part of me felt satisfaction. Karma arrived on schedule. But mostly I felt nothing. His problems were no longer mine to solve. Nora sent a letter. Actual mail, handwritten envelope. She apologized for everything. Said Derek was difficult. Said she understood why I left. The letter ended with a question. Could she visit? Just coffee. Just conversation. No agenda. I read it twice. Looked for the trap. The manipulation. The hidden ask. Found only exhaustion and loneliness. I wrote back. Kept it brief. Said I was not ready for visits. Wished her well. Suggested she find her own window. The response felt clean. Honest without cruelty. Boundaries without punishment. September arrived. Schools opened. Kitchens began serving meals. Photos flooded Alina's email. Kids eating roasted vegetables. Smiling staff. Clean plates. Diane sent a personal note. Said the kitchen changed everything. Attendance improved. Behavior improved. Kids asked for seconds. Teachers noticed the difference. One sentence stood out. You gave us back our dignity. I read it 3 times. Then I cried. Not sad tears. Relief tears. The kind that comes when you finally do something right. Jonah found me on the balcony. Handed me tissues. Sat beside me without asking questions. Waited until I was ready to speak. I told him I spent 42 years being small. Being useful. Being quiet. I hoarded money because it was the only power I had. Now the money was doing what I could not do alone. Feeding people. Opening doors. Proving that ordinary work mattered. Jonah nodded. Said power is only real when you give it away. That holding it turns it into weight. That releasing it turns it into wings. The sun dropped toward the water. Orange light painted everything warm. Waves rolled in, steady and sure. I had given away almost everything. Kept just enough. The math was simple. The freedom was profound. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. October brought rain and a knock at the door. Jonah answered while I folded laundry in the bedroom. A girl's voice echoed down the hall. Young. Uncertain. familiar in a way that made my hands stop moving. Lily stood in the doorway. 16 years old now, taller than I remembered, backpack slung over one shoulder. Eyes red from crying or driving or both. She asked if she could come in. The question was formal, polite, like I was a stranger who might say no. I stepped aside. She entered slowly, set her backpack down carefully, looked around the small condo like she was memorizing exits. Jonah offered tea. Lily shook her head, asked for water instead. He brought it in a blue glass. She drank half in one swallow. We sat at the kitchen table. The same table where legal papers had been signed, where plans had been made, where my old life had ended. Lily spoke first, said home had become a war zone. Kyle and Sabrina fighting constantly. Money problems, blame circling like drain water. She said they used her as ammunition. Kyle told her I abandoned the family. Sabrina said I chose strangers over blood. Both said I was selfish. But Lily had questions. Math that did not add up. Stories that shifted depending on who told them. She asked if it was true. If I really gave away $20 million. I said yes. Every word. Every dollar. All of it true. Lily leaned back. Processed. Her fingers traced patterns on the blue glass. Then she asked why. The question was simple. The answer was not. I told her about decades of lending money that never came back. About being the family ATM. About Kyle's layoff loan and Derek's truck and Nora's credit cards. I told her about the casserole dish breaking. About climbing through a window. About learning that no is a complete sentence. Lily listened without interrupting. Her face was young but her eyes were tired. She had seen things, heard things, understood more than anyone thought. She asked if I regretted it. The donation, the distance, the choice. I told her regret is for things that make you smaller. This made me larger than fear. Truer than politeness. Lily nodded slowly. Then she asked the real question. The one that brought her here. Was she part of what I was running from? My chest tightened. I reached across the table. Touched her hand. Told her no. Never. Not once. I said I was running from people who measured love in dollars. Who confused need with entitlement. Who made care feel like debt. She was 16. Still forming. Still deciding who to become. I wanted her to see another option. A woman who said no. Who chose herself. Who survived the exile. Lily's eyes filled. She asked if she could visit sometimes. If there was room in my new life for her. I said yes before she finished asking. Told her my door was always open. No conditions. No invoices. Just space and time and grilled cheese if she was hungry. She laughed. A small sound. Fragile but real. Said she missed my grilled cheese. Hospital cafeteria recipe. Perfect crisp. Never fancy. Always right. Jonah appeared with bread and butter. Set a pan on the stove. Gave us space without leaving completely. Lily stayed for dinner. We ate on the balcony. Watched fog roll in. Talked about school and books and nothing important. She left at 8. Hugged me at the door. Promised to come back. Her car disappeared into gray evening. Jonah cleared dishes. Asked if I was okay. I said I was better than okay. I had lost a son but kept a granddaughter. The math worked in my favor. November came cold and bright. Lily visited twice. Once for homework help. Once just to sit quietly. She did not ask about money. Did not mention her parents. Just existed in the space I offered. Harbor Lights held their first annual report meeting. Community center downtown. Folding chairs and coffee that tasted like cardboard. Elena presented numbers. 15 scholarships awarded. 3 kitchens operational. 2 libraries expanded. Every dollar tracked. Every impact measured. Then she showed photos. Kids holding acceptance letters. Cafeteria staff smiling behind steam tables. Little free libraries painted by volunteers. One photo stopped me. A girl standing in a school kitchen. Apron too big. Smile too wide. Caption read, "First time cooking fresh food." The girl was maybe 12. Brown hair in a ponytail. Hands covered in flour. She looked proud, like she had discovered something important. I remembered that feeling. The first time I balanced my own checkbook. The first time I understood compound interest. The first time I knew I was not stupid. Just untaught. After the presentation, people approached. Thanked me. Asked questions. Wanted photos. I declined politely. Said the work mattered, not my name. One woman waited until the crowd cleared. She was my age. Gray hair. Worn hands. Eyes that had seen things. She said she read about me in the paper. About the family fight. About choosing myself. She said it gave her permission to do the same. Her sister had been borrowing money for years. Never repaying. Always needing. Making guilt feel like obligation. Last month she said no. Her sister stopped calling. Other relatives called her selfish. But she slept better now. Ate better. Breathed easier. She wanted me to know I was not alone. That silence from family sometimes sounds like freedom. We hugged. 2 women who learned the same lesson at the same age. Better late than never. December brought decorations and decisions. Jonah suggested we find our own place. Something small. Something ours. We looked at rentals. Found a walk-up above a bakery. 2 bedrooms. Kitchen that caught morning light. Windows that framed the ocean. Rent was $800 a month. I could afford more. But $800 felt honest. Enough comfort. No excess. Room for life to happen. We moved in on the 15th. Furniture from thrift stores. Dishes from estate sales. Everything secondhand except the bed. Some things you buy new. Lily helped paint the second bedroom. Pale yellow. She said it felt like sunshine. We hung photos. Placed books on shelves. Made space look like home. Christmas arrived quiet. No family dinner. No expectations. No performance of togetherness that was really a transaction. Jonah cooked a small turkey. I made stuffing. Lily brought pie from the bakery downstairs. We ate slowly. Talked freely. Laughed without editing. This was family. People who showed up. Who stayed. Who did not count what they gave. After dinner, Lily handed me an envelope. Said she wrote something. Asked me to read it later. Her cheeks flushed. Embarrassment or hope or both. She left at 9. Kissed my cheek. Promised to visit after New Year. Her car disappeared into cold darkness. I opened the envelope alone. 1 page. Handwritten. Dear Grandma. Not Dear Martha. Grandma. She thanked me for showing her that no is not mean. That boundaries are not walls. That choosing yourself does not make you selfish. It makes you honest. She said watching me helped her understand. That her parents were drowning and trying to drag others under. That love does not require sacrifice. Just presence. She ended with a promise. She would not repeat the pattern. Would not confuse need with love. Would not make people prove they cared. I folded the letter. Placed it in my nightstand. Next to the letter from the woman who understood. Next to the scholarship thank you notes. Next to proof that freedom multiplies. Jonah found me crying, happy tears, relieved tears, the kind that comes when you realize the risk was worth it. He sat beside me, did not ask what was wrong, knew nothing was, waited until I was ready to speak. I told him I had spent 67 years being useful, being needed, being quiet. Now I was simply being myself. The gift was not the money I gave away. It was the life I got back. New Year's Eve we stayed home, watched the clock change, kissed at midnight, made no resolutions, needed none. The year ahead stretched open, full of ordinary days, full of small choices, full of space to breathe. I had climbed through a window, built walls, said no, given away almost everything, kept what mattered. The math was simple. The freedom was complete. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Spring arrived in its second year. The bakery below my apartment smelled like bread and new starts. Mornings began at 5:30 with oven heat rising through floorboards. Jonah and I fell into rhythms. Coffee on the balcony, walks along the pier, evenings spent reading on opposite ends of the couch. Simple became sacred. Ordinary became enough. Lily visited every other weekend. She brought homework and questions. We worked through calculus at the kitchen table. Discussed college applications over grilled cheese. She was 17 now, sharper, more certain, less willing to bend for people who demanded flexibility as a form of control. One Saturday in March, she arrived with red eyes. Sat at the table without speaking. Hands wrapped around a mug of tea she did not drink. Eventually she told me. Kyle cornered her at school pickup. Asked why she kept visiting me. Said I had poisoned her mind against the family. Lily looked him in the eye. Told him I fed her mind, not poisoned it. Told him there was a difference between loving someone and needing their money. Kyle called her ungrateful. Said she was just like me. Meant it as an insult. She took it as a compliment. The statement hung between us. Heavy with meaning, light with truth. I asked if she was okay. She nodded. Said it hurt less than she expected. Like removing a splinter. Brief pain, then relief. We spent the rest of the day doing nothing important. Walked the beach. Collected smooth stones. Let the wind erase the morning's damage. April brought news from Harbor Lights. The scholarship program was expanding. 20 students this year. 30 planned for next year. Waitlists growing. Elena asked if I wanted to meet some recipients. No pressure. No ceremony. Just coffee and conversation. We met at a cafe near the community college. 6 students. Ages 18 to 43. Different backgrounds. Same determination. A young man named Marcus worked full-time at a warehouse. Studied accounting at night. First in his family to attempt college. The scholarship meant he could cut his hours. Sleep more than 4 hours. Actually learn instead of just surviving. A woman named Patricia left an abusive marriage at 39. 2 kids. No degree. Working checkout at a grocery store. The scholarship covered her nursing prerequisites. She would graduate in 2 years. Her kids watched her study. Learned that starting over was possible. Each story was different. Each story was the same. People working hard, getting no breaks, needing just one door to open. The scholarship was that door. I was just the person who installed the hinges. They thanked me over and over. I told them to thank themselves. To keep going. To remember this feeling when someone else needed a door. Patricia hugged me before leaving. Whispered that I changed her life. I told her she changed her own life. I just helped with the math. May brought unexpected news. A publisher reached out through Harbor Lights. They wanted to know if I would consider writing a book. My story, my choice, my voice. The idea felt absurd. I was nobody, a retired cafeteria worker, a woman who saved money and said no. But Elena thought differently, said women my age needed to hear this story. That silence protects systems, that speaking breaks them. I asked Jonah what he thought. He said it was my decision. But stories mattered, especially true ones. I agreed to meet with the publisher. A woman named Claire, early 50s, sharp suit, kind eyes. She explained the vision. Not a memoir about money. A book about power. About ordinary women reclaiming autonomy. About saying no in a world that demands yes. She said my story represented thousands of untold stories. Women who gave until empty. Who believed sacrifice meant love. Who woke up one day and chose themselves. The contract was fair. Advance of $15,000. Royalties standard. Creative control retained. Timeline flexible. I signed in June. Started writing in July. The words came slowly at first. Then faster. Like a faucet loosening after years of rust. I wrote about the casserole dish breaking. About climbing through the window. About Caleb and capacity evaluations and irrevocable trusts. I wrote about Harbor Lights. About scholarships and school kitchens. About letters from women who found permission in my choices. I wrote about Lily. About granddaughters who break patterns. About love that does not require sacrifice. The book took 4 months. Claire edited with a gentle hand. Kept my voice intact, sharpened the message without changing the meaning. We titled it, The Window I Finally Chose. Published in March of the 3rd year. Small print run, modest expectations. The book found its audience quietly. Word of mouth, library displays, book clubs for women over 60. Reviews on blogs I had never heard of. Letters started arriving, dozens at first, then hundreds. Women my age, women younger, all saying the same thing. Thank you for permission. Thank you for proof. Thank you for going first. One letter came from Iowa. A woman named Helen, 71 years old. She lent her son $40,000 for a business. He never repaid, never apologized. Expected more. After reading my book, she hired a lawyer. Drew up a promissory note. Told her son repayment or estrangement. He chose estrangement. She chose peace. Another letter came from Texas. A daughter whose mother had been the family bank. Who died exhausted and broke. The daughter wished my book had existed 20 years earlier. Maybe her mother would have climbed through a window too. The letters were kept in a box. Blue cardboard. Hotel logo faded. Every letter mattered. Every woman counted. Summer brought a different kind of letter. From Kyle. Not an email. Actual paper. His handwriting. He said Sabrina left him. Took half of nothing. The divorce was final. His business was failing. Creditors calling. Stress mounting. He did not apologize. Did not ask for money. Just stated facts. Like reporting weather. Like I needed to know his forecast. The letter ended with a single sentence. You were right about a lot of things. Not an apology. Close enough to count. I did not respond. Did not need to. The letter was not for me. It was for him. A marker placed. An admission filed. Jonah asked if I felt vindicated. I said no. Just tired of carrying anger. Glad to put it down. Lily graduated high school in June. Valedictorian. Full scholarship to State University. Merit-based. Earned entirely on her own. She asked me to attend graduation. I hesitated. Kyle would be there. Sabrina too. The air would be thick with history. But Lily wanted me there. Said I was family. The kind that showed up. The kind that mattered. I sat in the back. Wore a simple dress. Watched Lily walk across the stage. Confident. Clear. Complete. Kyle sat 3 rows ahead. Did not turn around. Did not acknowledge me. Fine by me. We were strangers now. Related by blood. Connected by nothing else. After the ceremony, Lily found me in the parking lot. Still in her cap and gown. Diploma in hand. She hugged me hard. Thanked me for coming. For believing. For showing her another way. She said she was studying social work. Wanted to help families before they broke. Wanted to teach people about boundaries before resentment turned to rage. I told her she would be excellent. That she already understood what most people never learned. That love without limits becomes exploitation. She drove off to a party. I drove home with Jonah. We stopped for ice cream. Sat on a bench facing the water. Let the summer evening stretch long and easy. That night I added Lily's graduation photo to the box. Next to the letters. Next to the scholarship thank yous. Next to proof that windows open both ways. You climb out. Others climb through. August was quiet. I turned 70. Jonah made chocolate cake. Lily brought flowers. We celebrated with candles and coffee. No grand gestures. No need for them. The book kept selling. Modestly. Steadily. A Spanish edition was planned. Requests for speaking engagements arrived weekly. I declined most. Accepted a few. Spoke at libraries and community centers. Places where women gathered and listened. One woman approached after a talk. Asked how I found the courage. I told her courage was just fear with a deadline. That windows do not stay open forever. That someday turns into never if you wait too long. She nodded. Wrote it down. Tucked the paper in her purse. Walked out with her shoulders straighter. I watched her leave. Wondered what window she would choose. Hoped she would not wait as long as I did. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. 5 years after the window, Harbor Lights expanded into 3 counties. 42 scholarships active. 7 school kitchens operating. 12 libraries stocked and staffed. The numbers arrived in neat annual reports. Graphs and pie charts. Audit results clean. Impact measurable. But the stories were better than numbers. Always better. A boy named Daniel graduated with an engineering degree. First in his family to finish college. Got a job designing water systems for rural communities. Sent Elena a photo of himself in a hard hat. Caption read, "Because someone believed in a cafeteria worker's kid." A girl named Rosa left an abusive home at 19. Harbor Lights scholarship covered her dormitory. Safe bed. Locked door. Space to heal and study. She was now a social worker. Helped other girls find safe beds. The ripples kept spreading. One gift. Hundreds of lives. Thousands of possibilities. My book found unexpected audiences. A reading group in Ohio. A church group in Montana. Women's shelters in 3 states. Anywhere women gathered and whispered about doors they wanted to open. A Spanish edition launched in September. Translator was a woman named Carmen. She added a foreword. Explained that immigrant women especially understood. That saying no in English was hard. Saying no in Spanish, to family, felt impossible. The book gave vocabulary to the unspoken. Letters arrived in Spanish now. Women named Maria and Rosa and Guadalupe. They thanked me for words they could finally say. For permission that transcended language. One letter came from Mexico City. A woman named Beatriz. She supported her entire extended family. 23 people. Her salary stretched impossibly thin. She read my book, started saying no, lost 12 relatives, kept her sanity. She sent me a key. Actual metal key, brass and worn. Said it was from her old apartment. The one she left. The one where everyone had access. She did not need it anymore. Sent it as proof, as symbol, as thanks. The key joined others in a drawer. Women mailing me keys they no longer needed. Keys to old houses, old lives, old versions of themselves. I kept every one. October brought colder news. Derek's business closed completely. Bankruptcy filed. House foreclosed. He moved into a rental with Nora. 1 bedroom. Thin walls. No space for pride. Word filtered through mutual acquaintances. He blamed me. Said if I had just helped family. Said I destroyed him. Said my selfishness had consequences. The logic was backwards. Predictable. Entirely expected. Nora sent another letter. Asked if we could talk. Said Derek was struggling. Said maybe I could offer advice. Not money, just wisdom. The request made me tired. Old tired. Bone tired. The kind that comes from decades of being someone's solution. I wrote back. Kept it brief. Said Derek's problems started long before my window. That consequences are not punishment. They are just math. That I wished them well from where I was. The response felt clean. Final. A door closed and locked. Kyle's situation was different. Quieter. He stopped fighting. Stopped blaming. Just disappeared into ordinary struggle. Low-wage job. Small apartment. Child support he could barely afford. Sabrina remarried. A dentist. Moved to a nicer neighborhood. Lily saw her occasionally. Described the relationship as cordial and hollow. Presence without warmth. Lily thrived at university. Dean's List every semester. Internship at a family services nonprofit. Learned about cycles of abuse. About generational patterns. About how trauma passes through bloodlines unless someone stops it. She called one Sunday in November. Said she understood now. What I did. Why I did it. That leaving was not abandonment. It was amputation. Removing the diseased part to save the whole. She said she was grateful. That watching me taught her something school could not. That no is a love language. That boundaries are how you prove you care. The conversation lasted an hour. We talked about her classes. Her roommate. Her plans after graduation. Normal things. Easy things. The kind of conversation that does not cost anything. After we hung up, Jonah asked what I was smiling about. I told him I was thinking about investments. That the best ones do not show returns for years. But when they do, they compound forever. December arrived. The book hit a milestone. 50,000 copies sold. Publisher wanted a second printing. Maybe a book tour. Speaking engagements. Media appearances. Claire called to discuss options. Said the book resonated. That more women were ready to hear this message. That timing mattered. That now was the moment. I declined the tour. The speaking circuit. The publicity. Told her I said what I needed to say. The book could travel without me. But I agreed to one thing. A podcast interview. Audio only. Reaching people in cars. In kitchens. In quiet moments when shame felt heaviest. The interview happened in January. Host was a woman named Judith. Late 60s. Former therapist. Voice like warm honey and sharp truth. She asked about the casserole dish. About the moment I snapped. What finally broke through 42 years of compliance. I told her it was not the money. It was the assumption, the casual certainty that I existed for them. That my decades of work were really theirs. That I had no right to my own life. Judith asked if I missed them. My family. My son. The life I left behind. I told her I missed an illusion. A story I told myself. That blood meant loyalty. That sacrifice proved love. That being needed was the same as being valued. The truth was harder. Colder. More honest. They did not miss me. They missed my function. My wallet. My willingness to absorb their failures. Once the function disappeared, so did their interest. The silence proved what I already knew. I was never the relationship. Just the resource. Judith asked what I would say to women listening. Women in similar situations. Women afraid to say no. I told her permission is not coming. No one will hand you freedom. You have to build your own door. Climb through your own window. It will cost you. People will leave. Names will be called. You will be labeled selfish by people who are allergic to boundaries. But on the other side is air. The kind you can breathe without apologizing. The podcast aired in February. Downloaded 50,000 times in the first week. Women thanking me. Women sharing their stories. Women who finally climbed through. Spring arrived. Harbor Lights thrived. Elena ran it brilliantly. The scholarships multiplied. The work continued without me hovering. One kitchen had a small plaque. Funded by someone who believed ordinary work changes everything. I touched it every visit. Like a handrail. Like a promise kept. May brought Lily's graduation. Bachelor's degree in social work. Job lined up. Life launching. She told me I was the example. The proof that different was possible. I told her she chose to learn. To break the pattern. That I just held the door. She walked through on her own. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. I write this from a borrowed cottage above the Pacific. 72 years old now. Hair completely white. Hands still steady enough to hold a pen. The cottage belongs to a friend of Alina's. Writer's retreat. 2 rooms and a view. I am here for the month. Working on nothing. Enjoying everything. Morning fog rolls in like clockwork. Burns off by 10. Reveals a coastline that keeps its own counsel. Jonah visits on weekends. Brings groceries and newspapers. We walk the beach. Collect driftwood. Say little. Need less. We married 3 years ago. Small ceremony by the water. Lily stood beside me. Elena officiated. 10 people total. Vows were simple. Promised ordinary care. The only kind that works on Tuesdays. No family attended. None were invited. The guest list included only people who showed up before they were needed. Marriage at 69 felt different than it would have at 29. No illusions. No performances. Just 2 people choosing companionship over loneliness. Presence over drama. Jonah moved into the apartment above the bakery. We wake to bread smells. Fall asleep to ocean sounds. The rhythm is predictable. Perfect. Some mornings I still expect the phone to ring. Kyle demanding. Sabrina calculating. Derek blaming. But the phone stays quiet. Years of silence built a wall higher than anger ever could. Occasionally news filters through. Kyle works at a hardware store. Rents a room. Lives small. The life he once pitied is now his own. Derek and Nora moved to Arizona. Cheaper rent. Warmer winters. Distance from people who remember. I heard this third hand. From someone who knew someone. The details do not matter. They are simply elsewhere. Sabrina posts on social media. Her new life gleams. Perfect husband. Perfect house. Perfect performance. Lily scrolls past without stopping. Says some people never stop performing. Even when the audience leaves. Lily graduated 2 years ago. Works at a family crisis center. Helps parents build boundaries before resentment turns toxic. Teaches communication skills, conflict resolution, how to say no without cruelty. She is excellent at it. Natural, like she was born knowing what I had to learn the hard way. She calls every Sunday, sometimes longer calls, sometimes just to say hello. The consistency matters more than the content. Last month she told me she was seeing someone. A teacher named Marcus. Kind eyes. Steady hands. No drama. No debt. No red flags she could spot. She said she was being careful. Watching for patterns. Making sure she was choosing health over familiar dysfunction. I told her that was all anyone could do. That perfect does not exist. But intentional does. That choosing with eyes open is half the battle. She laughed. Said I sounded like a fortune cookie. I told her wisdom always sounds simple. Living it is the hard part. Harbor Lights continues without my daily involvement. Elena runs it. The board governs it. The community supports it. Last count was 60 scholarships active. 9 school kitchens operating. 15 libraries stocked. 3 vocational programs funded. The impact multiplied beyond my wildest calculations. Annual reports arrive by mail. I read them on the porch. Track the numbers. Celebrate the growth. Then put them away. The work is no longer mine to manage. Just mine to witness. To appreciate. To know that ordinary money became extraordinary change. My book still sells. Modest numbers. Steady interest. Reaches people when they are ready. Not before. A book club in Florida invited me to visit. 50 women. Ages 60 to 85. All had stories. All had climbed through windows of their own. One woman left her husband after 43 years. He drained their retirement. She rebuilt at 68. Now lived in a mobile home. Happier than she had been in decades. Another woman cut off her adult son. He stole from her repeatedly. Promised change. Never delivered. She finally locked the door. He raged. She survived. Story after story. Different details. Same core truth. Freedom costs. Silence costs more. After the meeting, a woman approached me. Late 70s. Thin. Elegant. She asked if I ever regretted the choice. I told her regret is for things that shrink you. This gift made me larger than fear. More honest than performance. Truer than the person I pretended to be. She nodded. Said she was working up the courage. Had a daughter who treated her like an ATM. She was tired. So tired. But scared of being alone. I told her alone is different than lonely. That sometimes the loneliest place is a room full of people who only see your function. She cried. I held her hand. We sat in silence. Sometimes silence is the only honest language left. 2 months later she sent a letter. She did it. Set boundaries. Her daughter stopped calling. She bought a small condo. Started painting. Felt lighter than she had in 30 years. The letter ended with thanks. Not for advice. For proof. For going first. For showing that survival was possible. Letters like that arrive weekly. I keep them in a box. Blue cardboard. Hotel logo. Growing heavier with proof. Some days I visit schools where kitchens run. I do not announce myself. Just watch from doorways. Kids eating, laughing, coming back for seconds. One cafeteria manager recognized me. A woman named Linda, late 50s, 20 years in the job. She pulled me aside, said the new kitchen changed everything. Kids ate better, focused better, learned better. Parents noticed. Teachers noticed. Test scores improved. Not dramatically, but measurably. Food mattered more than people realized. She asked why I did it. Why I gave away so much. I told her I spent 42 years saving. Thought money was security. Learned too late that security is knowing your life meant something. Linda hugged me, said it did, that every meal proved it. That ordinary work done with care changes everything. I walked back to my car. Sat for a moment. Let the truth settle. This was why. This was always why. Evening comes early at the cottage. Fog returns. Temperature drops. I light a fire. Sit with tea. Watch the ocean disappear into gray. Tomorrow Jonah arrives. We will drive to the farmer's market. Buy vegetables I will roast. Bread we will toast. Wine we will share. Small pleasures. Ordinary joys. The kind that do not cost more than they give. Lily visits next weekend, bringing Marcus. I will make my famous grilled cheese. We will walk the beach. I will watch her with this man. See if his hands are gentle. If his eyes are kind. If he listens when she speaks. If not, she will know. She learned to spot users. Learned to value herself. Learned that leaving is sometimes the most loving thing you can do. People ask if I miss family. The question assumes family means blood. I tell them I have family. Just not the one I was born into. Family is the people who show up. Who stay. Who do not measure what they give. Who bring a chair when there is not one. Jonah is family. Lily is family. Elena is family. The women who write letters are family. The kids who eat in kitchens I funded are family. Blood is an accident. Loyalty is a habit. I finally learned the difference. The cottage is quiet now. Just wind and waves. The sound of nothing demanding anything. I am 72. Healthier than I have ever been. Happier than I thought possible. Freer than I imagined at 67. The bravest thing I ever did was not donating the money. It was climbing through that window. Saying no. Building walls. Choosing myself. Turns out freedom is not far away. It is just on the other side of the word no. The ocean does not care about my story. The waves keep coming. Steady. Reliable. Indifferent. I learn from them. Keep going. Stay steady. Let the tide wash away what does not serve. Tomorrow the sun will rise. The fog will burn off. The day will stretch open and waiting. I will fill it with small things. Good things. Chosen things. That is enough. That has always been enough.